Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. And this week we have Shannon Bennett with the Creative Crayons Workshop. She fosters creativity and connections through crayons. And she's an entrepreneur doing cool things. And we're going to find out more about that here as we talk to Shannon. But as always, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, now would be a good time to do that wherever you're listening and watching it right now. And if you want to learn more about Playful Humans, go to playfulhumans.com. We do all kinds of cool stuff there. Here we go. All right, Shannon, welcome to the podcast. We like to start with the joke of the week. The joke of the week this week is brought to you by Unfinished Research. According to unfinished research, I gotta start that over. According to unfinished research, 6 out of 7 people. Okay, now the joke of the week is, how many mystery writers does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
1 to screw it in most of the way, and then another to give it a surprise twist at the end. Do you have a joke for us?
I do have a joke. Why do nurses carry around red crayons?
Red crayons. I have no idea.
In case they need to draw blood.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that'll get us started and right into the topic. You have a joke about crayons, and the Creative Crayons Workshop is online. Go to creativecrayonsworkshop.com to find out more information about the work that Shannon does. But Shannon, I think it's super cool. Crayons are one of those things, sort of like Legos, that are universal and
Yes.
kind of anybody can do it. You can do a lot of different things with it. You could have master artists creating, expensive pieces of art and work, or you could have kids breaking them and eating them and doing all kinds of silly things. You could be melting them down. What about crayons sort of attracted you to this, or how did you get started with it?
Yeah, so I have four children, and we a few years ago we were doing a homeschool project where we needed to make something from nothing, and with 4 kids at home, we have lots of broken crayons around, and so the kids gathered all the broken pieces they could find, and we decided to peel them down and melt them down and change their form. And so we made shaped crayons that were shaped like Lego bricks, actually. And the kids loved them, and they loved them so much they kept, well, Mom, what about this shape? Could we make a shape like this toy? And so we tried it, and we kept going with it, and we just kind of never stopped.
Well, I love that. And you have really branched out. I've seen some of the cool products you have on the website that are like placemats and table covers and all kinds of cool things that kids can do and keep them busy during the summer. So I think this is well timed here too. Do you have a favorite project now out of all the stuff you've done?
Oh gosh, a favorite? That's
or
tough.
Most popular. They're all your babies, I'm sure.
Yeah. The summer one is really fun. You mentioned summer just because it has a summer bucket list on it. So you can make a list of all the things you want to do. We have I love seeing it when people send us their pictures of their family that colored it together, and then they hang it on the wall to feature it. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah, but you're right. We have branched out a lot because once we started making the crayons, the kids were like, well, we should make something fun to color on too, so they're my idea generators. My 4 kids, they have great ideas. Yeah. So we just go with it and see what people like.
You got to leverage free labor as an entrepreneur for sure. But also kids are so creative. They come up with the best ideas because they're just living in the moment and they're not judging the ideas of whether it will sell or not, or whether we can actually make it or how good it will be and stuff. So tell me a little bit about what you think the power of play with crayons is, because I think the first line that comes to mind for me is always the, color inside the lines. And we try to get kids to make good artwork or follow the instructions or paint by number. And that really doesn't foster creativity and connection. It fosters them following rules, which is sometimes okay. But I feel like it's more interesting to not do that. What do you think?
Yes, I totally agree. I actually, I also teach art at our kids' school, and it's so fascinating to watch kids color because a lot of them want nothing to do with the lines, and I love that. I was always the kid that would, you're supposed to color a red strawberry, and it would be a rainbow strawberry,
For
So
sure, that's the best.
yeah. So as far as play goes, I think, like you were saying, a crayon is a universal thing. It doesn't matter how old you are. We have adults and even elderly people that order from us because it's enjoyable and relaxing. And um, you can never outgrow a crayon.
Yeah. I think you hit on a couple of things there for me. One is there are adult coloring books now that are awesome
Mhm.
and have really complicated mandala designs
Yeah.
and all kinds of cool stuff. But there's also something to be said for just going with a blank page and just
Hmm.
making something, right? And crayons are still a relatively inexpensive way to express yourself in art
Hmm.
and not messy for kids. So
Yeah.
sure, you can do finger paints and Play-Doh and all kinds of other interesting things, but it does seem like a really accessible medium for everybody,
Hmm.
and regardless of age, income, or whatever,
Yeah.
and a way to really get creative with it. So that's cool.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when you mentioned earlier about the different things you can do with crayons, when we lived in the Nashville area, we used to get crayons from an artist named Herb Williams, and he actually has things in the Smithsonian. He builds sculptures out of crayons, and they're phenomenal. And he would give us his little broken bits, and we would, upcycle them into different things. But yeah, it's pretty cool how you can really think outside the box and be creative and playful with something like a crayon.
So this is a question that I wanted to ask you because I do feel like there are some things about crayons that I've always wanted to ask and I've never had anybody to ask. So feel free to just be like, Mike, you're a nerd. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever, or you're overthinking it. But is there a proper way to use a crayon? Because I feel like it gets dull. I've seen the sharpeners. I feel like that's wasting, or you're just sharpen it if you go to the other side, or the paper, or when they break. What's the best way to do that? I feel like some people unroll them and they are really careful to like use the whole crayon, or do you just lose it and go with whatever piece and sharp edge you find? Do you have
I
any
think
tips?
it depends on the person because a lot of, I would say if you're more of a perfectionist, you definitely want a sharply pointed crayon to color with. But then I watch kids in class that just want to peel it and turn it on its side and color with it. So there's no wrong way. It all comes down to perspective when it comes to art. So, but there is definitely a quality difference in crayons, which is so fascinating. I never knew that until we started playing with them ourselves, and we discovered that the name brand crayons actually have way more pigment in them when you melt them down and reform them than something you might get at the dollar store, which will be like 3/4 wax and a little bit of pigment. So it does color differently, which I found very intriguing.
I agree. I think those cheap like restaurant crayons you get with the kids menu are all
Yeah.
waxy and
Yes.
they really leave great colors. And you only get like 3 colors, right? The
Yes.
3 or 4 primary colors. So I do want to circle back to the color question, but before we do that, I feel like the other trick is the surface
Mm,
area, because if you get a bumpy surface, you're going to get some really interesting patterns in your crayons.
yes.
But do you have a favorite? I guess that's the same thing. It's a preference, but do you have any tips on surfaces, especially for like kids to either not make a mess on or easy cleanup, or other like tips for where
Well,
you
if it's with crayons, I would say nothing glossy. If it's something that's glossy, it just is really hard for it to, it has that waxy feel, I guess. Um, but yeah, anything that's a matte paper surface, not like cardboard or anything, but just a nice sheet of paper.
Yeah, that makes sense. On a relatively smooth surface, I
Yes,
think is when you
yes.
try and take the paper onto like cement or something like
Yeah,
that.
or even like a folding table. You don't realize it, but they have a texture on them. And so, and I'm saying this again because in art class, we use folding tables, and some of the kids get so frustrated because it has a texture when they're doing their artwork instead of just being smooth. So, yeah.
All right, now I wanted to ask you about the color. Do you have a favorite color? I always remember the burnt sienna because it's just brown and it's a random color thrown out there. But I
Yeah.
also feel like the blues and greens are weird because you get blue green, but then you have green blue,
Yes.
and then you have aquas.
Uh-huh.
Do you have a favorite color or?
Yeah, my favorite color is the Granny Smith Apple by Crayola. Yeah, and from my experience of working with the crayons, there's more shades of blue than any other crayon that they have produced. There's, I mean, like denim blue, robin's egg blue. There's so many shades of blue. It's crazy. So I'm not really sure why, but it's interesting.
And when you're melting them down, is there mixing? Do you create your own colors, or do you try to keep those separate and create the marbleized look? Or I'm sure both.
Yeah, we mix them a lot. Sometimes we'll have people that are having a birthday party and they have a specific shape and color scheme that they're going with, and so we'll try and match that for them. So yeah, it gets fun. It's more fun, obviously, to be more creative when you get to make something like that. So
Any other misconceptions or tips you have for crayons?
Okay, so people have come up to me. We used to sell crayons at like art festivals and things like that. And they would come up to me and say, I tried doing this once and I put them in the microwave and they exploded all over my kitchen. I was like, yeah, don't ever do that.
That's a great one.
Yeah, don't put crayons in your microwave.
This is a stovetop function.
It
right?
is. It's a stovetop thing that we do. Always go, the higher end crayon is better, I would say. And you know, some people love the smell of crayons. They tell me, and I personally can't stand the smell, maybe because I'm around it so much, but I think it's nostalgic for a lot of people. That was something that surprised me, is how much people recognize and appreciate the smell of a crayon. So
I do. I feel like it's kind of like Play-Doh too.
yes,
When you pull that out, it's got that smell that's nostalgic, and it's not off-putting for me. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I want to ask you about your business and how you've built a life of play and been able to make money at this. But before we go there, I think it's interesting as an art teacher, how you foster creativity and connection, because this show is all about play for adults as well. And I think sometimes we forget that there are connections made here, and that you learn to share crayons with your siblings is an interesting life skill that you're building there, and learning how to communicate and get what you want with others. Do you have any tips for maybe how you create an atmosphere that allows people to express themselves or to connect with others and doesn't create a rigid or stressful environment with art?
In regards to kids or adults, or?
I feel like they're all the same. Adults
Okay.
are just kids in big people clothes.
Absolutely. I constantly have to remind my students. I think as kids, and then we, like you were saying, we don't care what people think, if it's good or bad, but as the older we get, the more we care about people's opinions. And so I'm constantly having to remind them that your artwork is your own, and it doesn't actually matter what anybody has to say about it, because you're the only person that can produce that piece of art that you're creating. And I think the individuality in that and really gives the opportunity for people to shine. You know, if you were to Google like crazy art, I mean, wasn't there like a banana that was sold for millions of dollars last year on a canvas? So I think we just need to like not be hard on ourselves. And I'm always encouraging kindness for kids to recognize their other students, like what they appreciate about their friend's artwork, and you know, like, oh, I love that shade of color, or that's a really cool shape that you drew, or however, you know, it is. Because when we realize that what we've made is actually appreciated by somebody else, it does form that connection and lets us be a little more vulnerable, I think.
Last question on this topic. Why do you think adults stop drawing? I think most people stop when they were stopped being required to in school or other things. And even really talented young people
Hmm.
kind of give it up, and they go, oh, well, I can't be an artist, or I can't just paint for fun as a hobby, or draw as a hobby as an adult. Why do you think people stop playing with crayons?
Yeah, I agree. It's sad. I think it's really sad. I don't think society recognizes Einstein has a quote. It's a very simple quote that I can't think of right now, but it's something about play being one of the highest forms of intelligence. And I think we're such a do society that we overlook the gift of just like doodling or being able to have the free time, because schedules and all the lists of things that we have to do, it's like, oh, I don't have time to do something that doesn't matter, like just letting my brain release some doodles, or but I was telling one of the teachers the other day, I had a third grade class come in, and I designed a poster for them to color, and I couldn't believe how excited the whole class got to just color the entire time. I had never seen them so like united. They weren't bickering, like everybody was loving it. And I said to the teacher, I was shocked how much these third graders loved coloring. And she said, well, that's because they're kids and all we do is schoolwork all day long. They don't have the opportunity to just play and have fun, which made me sad. But at the same time, I was so happy to be able to, offer that to them.
I think it's the same thing for adults. If you're
Absolutely. Yes.
listening or watching that, I mean, just buy one of Shannon's kits at creativecrayonsworkshop.com and do something for the summer for your office, or to take a
Yeah.
break and let people just connect and relax.
Yeah.
And whether that's have lunch or have a drink and just color for
Yeah.
an hour. And it's amazing when you let your guard down and you let your mind
Mhm.
focus on something else and using your
Yeah.
hands, that a lot of creativity and a lot of connection and just de-stressing comes
Mhm.
from that,
Yeah,
which
and
is
it
amazing.
is. There's so much research on how stress melts away with coloring. It's phenomenal. Yeah. And it's so easy. It's like we pay all this money for therapy when you could just grab something and color, you know.
Yeah, $5 for some crayons and some
Yes.
paper. That's awesome. Now, tell me about the business. What made you decide to start selling these online, and how did that go at the beginning?
So we decided to just give it a shot at a local barbecue festival, the crayons that we had been making. And at that very first festival that we did, we had a local store approach us and ask if we would make these to sell in their store. So that told me that something was up about this, And so we kept on that path for a while. And then we opened up a website because I realized websites are much easier on my time than, packing things up and setting up big shows.
Yeah.
And then with the coloring, I think about 3 years into it, because we're almost 6 years old now. And so about 3 years into it is when we started doing the coloring designs. And we initially only did holidays. We started with, it was Halloween. And so we did a giant coloring table cover for Halloween. And then that went so well, I said, we need to design this for Thanksgiving and Christmas, And then after that, I just kept listening to what people's needs were. And it ended up morphing into, we now have a subscription because people wanted something for every month to look forward to, which with my 4 kids, I always have to battle to get them off a screen. So it's so nice to have something to offer them that we can all do together. And yeah, that's been one thing. And then birthday parties, which I never planned to happen. People just love having a coloring feature at their birthday party. So it's really special because, it's like, oh, it's my kid's first birthday and this is the theme. And, they'll look back in 20 years at those pictures. And I just think it's so cool to be a part of that.
That is awesome. And I love that you just expanded. When people are asking for stuff, that's what makes it the best, right? You don't have
Yeah.
to come up with really hard thinking and design, or like workshopping and doing research about what people
Right.
think. Just, hey, we're making cool stuff and people keep asking for more of it. Keep
Yes.
doing that. And as long as you make enough money to keep doing it, then you're on the right path, right?
Yeah.
I love the idea of the subscription too, because I'm a big fan of those boxes like Kiwi Crate and Mark Rober has one for science. I jumped that one a little bit early. I think that subscription was mostly for me this year, but my nieces are enjoying the toys after I build them. But I went to like 8th grade level and they're in kindergarten. But I love coloring with my niece too. Sydney, since she was, 1 or 2, have been coloring together. And I think we did Easter egg contests last year, and had the grandparents judge. Unfortunately, I think they could tell which one was made by their granddaughter. So I'm still, disputing that victory of hers, but it's a blast. And I think having something fun like that is much better than a Netflix subscription or something else. You're just paying a few bucks a month and you get something new and creative. And it's an excuse to get together and sit down and get excited that the new, gift game. And,
we our kids' age range, our oldest is 13 and our youngest is 6. So for a 13-year-old girl to open up and talk to you, it gets a little bit harder. But when I get these out, genuinely, it takes a few minutes, but her guard comes down and she starts to talk to us, like it's magical.
I love that. And I would say, as an uncle, I don't have any kids. So it's a great excuse for me on these subscriptions to be like, once a month, the new one's in, let's get together and spend some time together and do these together. And it's great that our parents will save them. And then they look forward to it too. And the next time we get to get together. And it's a nice reminder all year round, because otherwise you're just kind of doing, birthdays and holidays and big occasions, which is fine too. But it's a nice, cool excuse to be like, this is our thing. I got this gift for us to do together all year round. That's super fun. How much do you include your children in the business side of things?
They are completely involved.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, they are. They not only do they come up with ideas, they help pack our orders every day. They like going to the post office to ship things. They take a lot of pride in it. I mean, sometimes they're annoyed.
I thought you were going to say they took all of the profit. No, they take pride in it. That's better.
Pride. They'd love the profit. But it's nice too, since they're younger, we can, my older one wants the cash, which I get, but my younger kids, it's like screen time, or, they see like, if I put this work into this, then I can have this as a reward, so it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And I think you have some workshops now where you help other people do it too. Have you found out any tips or tricks, or I'm sure you've learned a ton about selling online over the last 6 years too. Anything you want to share there?
About like selling products online, or? Yeah. Definitely don't do it alone. I started alone, and there's so many communities that could have saved me so much time and so much mistakes that I made. And I learned from all of it. And I am where I am because of that, but you don't have to do it alone. So I would say for sure be in a community, and just don't doubt yourself. I think, and when you're in a community, you also have those cheerleaders, instead of just staying in your own head and, well, that's not, just as adults, we second guess ourselves already. But when you're putting yourself out there and you're selling something that you're not sure how people are going to respond with, I would say just go for it and be confident.
I love that. Is there any tip, trick, or hack that you found, or anything that worked for you specifically? Was it getting into these communities and meeting people individually? Did you find social media or email marketing or anything more effective than others? If somebody was trying to sell their art or sell a product, is there any place you direct them first?
Etsy is a really easy place to start. As far as if you have an idea and you just want to see if it might work out, it doesn't require much from you as far as finances or even time. Their platform is really easy to manage. So I love Etsy. We're on several different pages, but I've been on Etsy for years now and love Etsy. And yeah, don't start thinking that you need to do all the things. Start with just one thing and then build from that, because I think entrepreneurs, we just put so much pressure on ourselves to do it all. And you have to be a little bit realistic and start with one and then, to the next. But of course, you said email marketing. Email is always amazing if you can start an email list, because that's where you really get to connect with your people, is emails, because I can't tell you the amount of emails I've received from people that just tell me about the birthday party or the memory that our product brought them. It's really special. So I would definitely encourage that.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us, Shannon. We just have one thing left to do. Do you want to play a game?
Let's play.
All right, here we go. We are playing survey battles. This is our friendly feud game. So we surveyed 100 people. The top answers are on the card. I have 3 questions for you. You get 2 out of 3 right, you win. Okay. The first one is we asked 100 people to name a device some people just can't figure out how to work. Crayons are easy. What's difficult for people to learn how to use?
The remote control.
The remote control is up there, number 4. VCR DVD player still up there at number 1. Computer, cell phone, and gaming system
Yes.
are the other top 5s. Nicely done there. All right. Name an older woman who is still a movie star.
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan. There you go. That was, she's tied for 5th. There, Julie Andrews, Diane Keaton, Glenn Close, Susan Sarandon, and Meryl Streep. Nice. Ladies there. All right, last one. I feel like this one is the easiest one, but name a word or phrase that starts with live and blank.
Live and laugh.
Oh no, our live, laugh, learn did not make the list. Learn did. Live and learn. Live and let die, live and let live, live and die, live in live and in person. Oh, people just, I guess, read that differently. And
I got the easiest one wrong.
Yeah, we missed it, but you still win, which means you get a free 30-second commercial here for you and your business. You can go check it out at Creative Crayons Workshop.com. Shannon, anything we can do to help you or you can do to help us?
This has just been so great chatting with you, Mike. I really appreciate the opportunity.
It has been fun. Tell us about the business. What will people find at the website?
Well, you'll find lots of stuff to color with and color on for any age and any occasion and any reason, just to have fun with and play.
I love it. It's time to go play. Everybody go check out Shannon Bennett's website, Creative Crayons Workshop.com. And you can check out Playful Humans at playfulhumans.com. We have a playfulness quiz. You can take the quiz, playfulhumans.com/quiz. Find out your playful personality. If you're an artist, maybe you like Shannon, or you like puzzles or games or social events, go check it out, playfulhumans.com/quiz. We'll see you next time.
For tomorrow, live for today, keep on chasing the sunshine.